In the vast kingdom of life on Earth, the methods of reproduction vary greatly from one species to another. Some creatures engage in the simplest, most familiar forms of reproduction, while others reveal truly disturbing and unsettling behaviors. In this video, we'll explore one of the most bizarre and chilling methods of reproduction in the animal kingdom. Buckle up as we uncover the creature with the most disturbing reproduction, one that might leave you questioning the very nature of life itself. In the animal kingdom, reproduction comes in many shapes and forms. While many creatures follow familiar patterns such as sexual reproduction with internal fertilization or external egg laying, some species adopt truly extraordinary and unsettling methods to bring new life into the world. These varied strategies are shaped by evolutionary pressures, where each species adapts its reproductive tactics to best survive and thrive in its environment. Some animals go through processes that seem bizarre to us, making us question what is normal in the natural world. These reproductive methods can range from fascinating to grotesque, pushing the boundaries of what is considered acceptable or even imaginable. Whether through extreme forms of parental investment, bizarre mating rituals, or the horrific extremes to which some creatures go to ensure the survival of their offspring, these strategies reflect the complexity and diversity of life on Earth. One of the most surprising aspects of the diversity of reproduction is how it serves the basic biological purpose: ensuring the continuation of the species. From the simplest amoeba dividing into two cells, to the highly specialized sexual strategies employed by complex animals, the reproductive process is a cornerstone of evolutionary success. However, some creatures seem to take this concept to disturbing extremes. These outliers of nature challenge our preconceived notions of reproduction and survival, revealing that sometimes the road to reproduction can be filled with sacrifice, horror, or even danger. In the following chapters, we will explore the creature with the most disturbing reproductive process, unraveling the shocking truth about its unique survival strategy. Our story begins with one of the most bizarre creatures on Earth: the male seahorse. To many, the seahorse's unique role reversal in reproduction is already strange enough. Unlike most species where females carry the offspring, in seahorses, it is the males who bear the young. The female seahorse deposits her eggs into the male's brood pouch, where fertilization occurs and the eggs develop. The male then carries the eggs for weeks before eventually giving birth to fully formed miniature seahorses. While this process is extraordinary in itself, it's not necessarily the most disturbing form of reproduction. However, it sets the stage for understanding how evolution can lead to extreme methods of offspring care that defy our expectations. As we dive deeper into the disturbing side of reproductive biology, we come to a species whose reproductive process is both horrifying and fascinating: the parasitic wasp. Unlike seahorses, where males have a role in nurturing their young, parasitic wasps take a completely different approach. These wasps lay their eggs inside living hosts, such as caterpillars. Once the eggs hatch, the larvae begin to feed on the host from the inside out, slowly devouring it alive in a grotesque process. The wasp larvae consume the host's vital organs while keeping the creature alive long enough to finish feeding. Once the larvae have fully developed, they emerge from the host, leaving behind a hollow, lifeless shell. This horrifying reproductive strategy is a result of the wasp's evolutionary drive to maximize its chances of survival by ensuring that its larvae have a living, fresh food source. The parasitic wasp's method of reproduction might be one of the most disturbing known to humanity, reflecting the sometimes brutal reality of nature's survival game. When it comes to bizarre and disturbing methods of reproduction, few can rival the reproductive process of the male praying mantis. The female mantis, after mating, often engages in a gruesome act of cannibalism. She decapitates her mate and consumes his body, sometimes while he is still alive. The male mantis's gruesome fate is part of a strange and disturbing process that ensures her survival and that of her offspring. Some researchers believe that by consuming the male, the female mantis gains additional nutrients that are critical for the development of her eggs. Additionally, the act of cannibalism may increase the likelihood of successful fertilization, as it ensures that the male's genetic material is used to its fullest potential. This process is a fascinating and horrifying example of the lengths to which some creatures will go to ensure the survival of their offspring, and it reveals the darker side of nature's reproductive strategies. As we move on to our creature of focus, we explore the disturbing and gruesome methods of reproduction used by the Australian tiger quoll, a carnivorous marsupial known for its unsettling approach to reproduction. These creatures engage in a brutal mating ritual where the male quoll often mates with several females, but the act of copulation itself is violent and aggressive. The female quolls, despite having multiple mates, engage in a process known as forced copulation, where the males physically overpower the females to ensure that their genes are passed on. After mating, the female quoll undergoes a form of self-cannibalism to prepare for the birth of her young, often consuming parts of her own body in a desperate attempt to replenish her energy stores. The young quolls are born in a highly undeveloped state and are forced to cling to their mother's fur, where they remain until they are strong enough to leave the pouch. This disturbing behavior is a testament to the harshness of nature and the lengths that certain species will go to in order to propagate their genes and secure their place in the world. In contrast to the previous creatures we've discussed, the reproductive process of the Australian tiger quoll is marked by brutal acts of physical violence and self-destruction. The forced copulation, along with the extreme survival strategies employed by the mother, highlights the dark side of reproduction in the animal kingdom. While many creatures engage in more peaceful or symbiotic relationships to ensure the survival of their offspring, the quoll's mating rituals paint a gruesome picture of life's harsh reality. In this case, reproduction is not a simple act of love or attraction. It is a brutal, violent struggle for survival, where only the fittest will succeed. The shocking nature of this process serves as a stark reminder of the harshness of life and the often disturbing realities of reproduction in the animal kingdom. Reproduction in the animal kingdom is a process that, while fundamentally universal, takes on forms that are often as extreme and unsettling as the creatures themselves. From the cannibalistic acts of the mantis and quoll to the parasitic feeding strategies of wasps, the methods of ensuring the next generation of life vary dramatically. These creatures serve as a stark reminder that nature's path to survival is sometimes paved with grotesque and disturbing rituals. What may seem horrifying to us is, in many cases, the result of millions of years of evolution, driven by the ultimate goal of species preservation. As we look deeper into these extreme reproductive strategies, we gain a greater appreciation for the complexity and resilience of life, no matter how disturbing the process may be. The evolution of such disturbing reproductive strategies is not without purpose. While many of us might view these acts of nature as grotesque or unsettling, they have been honed over millions of years to increase the chances of survival and reproductive success. For many species, the shocking and extreme methods we see today were not always the norm. Instead, they represent a series of adaptations to harsh environments or intense evolutionary pressures. Every act of reproduction, no matter how horrifying, serves the ultimate goal of ensuring the continuation of a species. In nature, the struggle to survive is fierce, and those creatures that have developed extreme strategies for procreation have done so because their methods provide some kind of advantage, no matter how seemingly brutal or unusual. Take, for instance, the parasitic wasp, which may seem cruel in its method of reproduction. The process of laying eggs inside a living host and allowing the larvae to consume the host from the inside out seems almost cruel, but it is a highly effective method for ensuring the survival of the wasp's offspring. The larvae have a steady, reliable food source, and the host creature, often a caterpillar, is helpless to escape. By the time the larvae are ready to emerge, the host is dead. But the wasp larvae have completed their development and are ready to continue the cycle of life. This gruesome method of reproduction is an evolutionary adaptation that maximizes the wasp's chances of survival, ensuring that the larvae are nourished and protected during their crucial early stages of development. It's a testament to the lengths evolution will go to in order to guarantee the survival of a species. Similarly, the reproductive behavior of the praying mantis, while horrifying to us, provides clear evolutionary advantages. The act of sexual cannibalism might seem like an act of senseless violence, but research suggests that it may actually serve several purposes that increase the chances of reproductive success. For one, the nutrients gained from consuming the male provide the female with the extra energy needed to produce more eggs. In a world where energy resources are often scarce, this can be a crucial advantage. Additionally, by cannibalizing the male, the female may reduce the likelihood of future competition for mates, ensuring that her offspring are the result of a strong, dominant male who has already passed on his genes. In this sense, the act of cannibalism may be seen as a strategic decision, not an impulsive or arbitrary act. It's nature's way of ensuring that the strongest and most genetically favorable offspring are produced. For creatures like the Australian tiger quoll, the extreme and aggressive mating rituals also serve a clear evolutionary purpose. Forced copulation and the subsequent consumption of the female's own body reflect the harshness of the environment in which these animals live. In an ecosystem where resources are limited, the physical toll on the female's body might seem excessive, but it is a necessary sacrifice to ensure that the next generation has the best chance of survival. By forcing the female to engage in intense physical and hormonal stress, the male quoll increases the likelihood that his own genes will be passed on, outcompeting other males in the process. The female's ability to feed and nourish her young, despite the trauma she endures, is another evolutionary adaptation that ensures that her offspring are strong enough to survive in the unforgiving wilderness. This brutal strategy is, in essence, a survival mechanism designed to maximize the reproductive success of both the male and the female. As disturbing as these reproductive methods may seem, they all serve a greater purpose: the continuation of the species. These extreme adaptations are not born out of cruelty or randomness, but rather through millions of years of evolutionary refinement, each one serving the dual purpose of protecting the species and ensuring that their genes are passed on to the next generation. Evolution is driven by competition, and those who can adapt the quickest, or in the most extreme ways, are the ones who succeed. For creatures like the parasitic wasp, praying mantis, and Australian tiger quoll, the disturbing nature of their reproduction is simply a product of the natural world's endless drive to survive. However, looking at these creatures' extreme reproductive behaviors also raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. While we understand that nature operates without moral judgment, the disturbing ways in which these creatures propagate their species can evoke strong emotional responses in us. The gruesome realities of cannibalism, parasitism, and violence in reproduction challenge our notions of right and wrong, of beauty and horror. Nature does not concern itself with ethics or morality, but human beings often struggle to reconcile the brutality of life with our sense of compassion and empathy. For many of us, the idea of one creature feeding off another in such a personal and intimate way seems unconscionable, and yet it is a natural part of the cycle of life. The parasitic wasp, for instance, may be an expert at survival, but its behavior often leaves us questioning the very nature of life. The idea of one organism intentionally using another as a vessel for its young, while ensuring the host suffers a slow and painful death, is hard to accept. And yet, this is simply the way nature has chosen to solve the problem of reproduction. For the wasp, there is no moral conflict. It is simply carrying out the task that nature has entrusted it with, procreating and ensuring its species thrives. This raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of suffering, the ethics of life, and the delicate balance that sustains the web of existence. Similarly, the praying mantis's act of cannibalizing its mate may seem cruel, but from an evolutionary perspective, It is an advantageous strategy. The male is sacrificing his life to ensure that the female can reproduce successfully, and by providing her with sustenance, he increases the chances of his own genetic material being passed on. But the idea of self-sacrifice in the name of reproduction calls into question our own human ideals of autonomy, control, and self-preservation. In the animal kingdom, survival often comes at the cost of the individual, a stark contrast to our human ideals of individualism and the sanctity of life. When we reflect on the disturbing reproductive strategies in the natural world, we are confronted with the reality that life often operates on a far more brutal level than we can comprehend. The creatures that employ such strategies are not driven by cruelty or malice, but by a deep, primal need to survive and propagate their species. Their actions are shaped by millions of years of evolutionary pressures, where every choice made is focused on ensuring the survival of their genetic material. And while these behaviors may seem horrifying to us, they are in fact part of the natural order, a reminder that life, in all its complexity, often exists in a delicate balance of beauty and brutality. As we consider the ethical implications of such reproductive behaviors, we must also reflect on our own role in the natural world. How do we reconcile our understanding of compassion and morality with the harsh realities of survival that unfold around us? How do we process the uncomfortable truths about the way life works? Perhaps, in some ways, these disturbing reproductive behaviors can serve as a reminder that the natural world is not governed by human ideals, but by an ever-present, often merciless drive to survive. In the end, the most disturbing reproduction strategies are simply another manifestation of the struggle to continue life, no matter the cost.